Welcome back, everybody, to the channel. I just want to thank everybody that has been viewing, liking, and subscribing, and even commenting. I really do appreciate the love and the feedback. I do want to thank one of my subscribers, Richie, for this next video idea. I am going to briefly discuss spinning tackle gear and techniques, what we affectionately known as finesse fishing. So I'm just going to give you three different types of techniques while you're finesse fishing and what to do with them and how they can help you catch bass. So I'm just going to flip this camera around. I'm going to give you that first person view and show you how to rig up these techniques for this finesse fishing. Alright, so this is what I'm going to start off with first. This is my finesse rod or spinning rod and my finesse reel. And just let you know how you can identify this as being a spinning rod is that first guide is always bigger and more open. And like I said, this is a spinning reel. I showed you how to cast this before in a previous video. Now, with finesse fishing, the rod power that most anglers prefer or go after or use for the three techniques that I am going to explain to you is what we call medium power, and that just basically describes and where the rod will bend when receiving that bite from that fish. So like I said, it's either medium power or medium light. For bass fishing, you don't want nothing too light because that rod will really bend. It may even break. It may give too much to the point where you can't get a proper hook set in there. And now for the reel itself, what I like to use for my line when finesse fishing, I like to add a 10-pound braid. Some anglers may choose 15, some may even go up to 20, with that being the most, but I just prefer the 10 because I feel like 10-pound braid is pretty strong. And then I also like to tie on a fluorocarbon leader, so I will section off some line for that as well. And I can even go in on how to tie that together and everything, how you tie two lines together, but that'll be for another video. But this is my basic finesse fishing setup, a 2000 size reel, medium power spinning rod, and this is what we use to finesse fish. All right, so here we go. These are the three different techniques for finesse fishing. Like I said, I just chose three. There are other applications for finesse fishing. I just want to give those mentions that, your hard baits, you can get in smaller sizes. For me, finesse fishing, the maximum weight of a lure, your rig or anything should be just a 1/4 ounce, and that's it. I wouldn't want to go higher than that, and that's just my personal recommendation. So what I have right now, of course, these weights are a little bit smaller than a 1/4 ounce, but like I said, you can get a 1/4 ounce, lipless crane, a 1/4 ounce spinnerbait, a 1/4 ounce finesse jig, just other lures. But like I said, I just want to focus on these three because I feel like these are the epitome and more prominent techniques of finesse fishing. So from left to right, I'm gonna kind of lean in a little bit on this a little bit. So what I have right now, everybody's been hearing, of course, about the Ned rig. And then there is the shaky head. As you can see, these two jigs right here. And then the even more famous drop shot rig. And like I said, I'll go over, rigging each one of these up and how it should look and, its kind of purpose in finesse fishing. So I am going to start off with the net rig. So first is the net rig. And now what makes the net rig what it is basically the net rig jig head, which is this right here. Now the size I believe I have is the 1/10 ounce net rig jig head, and it's, most people might say net rig head or shroom head, and shroom head because it's just round like a mushroom, of course. And then of course the Z-Man's TRD net rig worm. Everybody knows about Z-Man, their last sec. They say it's the best. They just kind of crown themselves the best because they make the best for it. And so when rigging this up and everything, once you tie on your jig head and everything, what I like to tell everybody when kind of lining up is you want to find out what is the best way where that hook is going to come from. So as you see, I would take my soft plastic, line it up against the head, and find out where that hook is going to come out from. So if I'm judging this right, it looked like it's going to come out from, I don't know if you can see the ridges in this side of the worm, but that is going to come out that very last end. So I always like, when rigging up my soft plastic, I like to find that center. You may not see it here, but then you place the hook there.
Like I said, find that center and then push. Now, normally with a lot, when you're doing this, you always want to push all the way through. So once you find that place to keep pushing, and then you bring that hook point to the end of that, and now, like I said, I am all set. So that is my Ned rig. That's it basically being set up. I'm where I want to be. You want it to be as straight as possible on there. You don't want it, crimped up or bent to the side. You want it as straight as possible. And like I said, this rig is very simple and basic looking. It's not much. With finesse fishing, it's not a ton of action. The lure is just very simple and subtle, just that little type of action that would set off those, hard to catch bass or finicky bass that don't want to bite. It's like, okay, I really don't want to pay attention, but this tiny little thing is kind of moving around right now, and they makes me want to investigate and even bite. So like I said, that is the Ned rig right there by itself in its simplicity. Like I said, nothing special. So when you're fishing this, half the time, if you're using those Z-Man lures, their lures float because of that stretch plastic, elastic plastic, so it floats. And then of course you hop it off the bottom, drag it, dead stick it. Like I said, it'll just float there. But that little bit of rod action you give will cause it to shake. Like, so can you imagine that being underwater and you're just kind of seeing that shake? That'll get a bass attention if it's right there in front of them. So that is the Ned rig. Next, we have the shaky head. Now, there are two styles of shaky head, one being a stand-up, and then one just being a regular shaky head, just has that round bottom, doesn't necessarily stand up or make a lure stand up. Now, the reason why I do have these two out, like I said, some shaky heads come in two different styles. So you may see, even if it's not a stand-up or not, you may just see a shaky head without the screw lock on there, like this model or this style. Or you may see one, like I said, that has a screw lock on there, which is my personal favorite. I like the screw lock over not having it because I just feel like it's just a better lure keeper than just actually placing it on the shaky head itself. And I'm gonna show you how that looks here in a minute. Now, most popular soft plaques that goes on a shaky head is a finesse worm. Like I said, all these everything is small when it comes to finesse fishing, but I like to have the finesse worm, and this is the Carl's Amazing Baits flicker worm that you can get at shopcarls.com. Definitely love them. So I'm gonna just show you, how to rig this up. So first, I'm gonna go with the screw locks. Like I said, this is my personal favorite. But of course, once again, you take the tip of your soft plastic, just find that screw lock there, and just simply screw it on there. Now, this soft plastic has been torn up a little bit. That's why I'm using it for this video purpose and tutorial. So now you got it kind of once you got it on there, I'm gonna just run that back and take a little bit off the tip, so I actually get some actual plastic in there. Like I said, just run it on there. I like to go all the way to the jig head part. Once again, kind of find where that hook point should be exiting the body. So, like I said, I'm gonna just take it and bend it a little bit, go right on through. Now, you don't necessarily have to go all the way through, but you do want to. The way I like to put it is kind of just have it just barely out there, even exposed, so you can text post it. You can take the hook point and dig it back in the body a little bit. But like I said, you want this to be straight as possible. So really learning how to find where that should go. Just so you can get it as straight as possible. Now, half the time it's not going to be perfect on there, and that's why I'm doing it like how I am now. But the important part is, so with the shaky head, now that doesn't mean when you throw it out there and you start shaking this jig all over the place, but you just want to have those nice subtle movements from your rod tip. So just even the slightest little lift up of the rod tip, it will cause it to lift up, shake a little bit. If you pop it, it goes right back up and down, and you want to kind of keep things standing up. Now, like I said, with the regular shaky head, it don't stand up on its own. So of course that lure fall back down until you give it a little bit more action. But then that's when the stand up comes in, because as you can see, it is standing up on its own without you having to pop it and make it stand back up. And of course, like I said, this is not that Elastec or Stretch X plastic that stretches. This is regular soft plastic lure, so it does not float. Now, like I said, now the shaky heads without the screw lock on there, what you have to do is you take just a little bit. So once you can find out how you want it on there, I'm gonna just rig it up there, but you just take a little bit from the tip and then just come out of the body. And like I said, it's just on there. And then once again, you just find out where you want it to come through on the body. And then sometimes, just depending on how you do it, you can leave the hook in the body or you can bring the hook point out of it a little bit just for better hookup ratios. But then once again, like I said, it also depends on where you're fishing at. If you're kind of in cover, if you're open water, if you're in open water, you could probably have more of the hook exposed. But if you're around cover, then I would want to bury the hook in the soft plastic a little bit more. Like I said, there it is, just standing up, and it'll be sitting like this. Like I said, most popular lure would be finesse worms, but you can also do crawls, tubes, creature baits, just kind of give different presentations. Bass are not picky, they love to see it all and bite on it. But that right there is the shaky head. And now last but not least is the drop shot rig. Now the first two rigs, the Ned rig and the shaky head that I showed you, those are bottom rigs. Those are fished off the bottom. So if bass are biting on the bottom, those are two rigs you want to use for the bottom. But now what's special about the drop shot rig is, even though you still have a weight, and that would basically be on the bottom of the line, and your hook would be in the middle of the line, your drop shot is still almost like a bottom technique for fishing. But because their hook, so let me kind of bring this in here for you, your hook will be kind of like in the middle of the line, so it kind of dangles in the middle of the line, and then you have your weight that would be on the bottom. So I wish it was a better way I could show this to you. So you're kind of looking like that, and then your lure will be right there, nose hooked on there, and that's how your drop shot rig will be. It's very simple. Now I need to go into more depth about the drop shot rig. I can do a whole video by itself on this technique, because tying it up is one thing and then just really showing you how the presentation works. But basically, once you do have a drop shot rig tied on, you want to take even smaller finesse kind of worm. Now this is the Guggen Baits Dragon Drop. Like, what's very unique about the drop shot baits, a lot of them will have like this very small body, tapered tail, to kind of give off some even small tails. You may use even paddle tails, swim baits, just all kinds of things for a drop shot. But essentially what you're going to do is, once you got it rigged up, you're just going to nose hook that soft plastic. And like I said, this is going to suspend more off the bottom, so it's not directly on the bottom like the shaky head would have been floating like this, or even with the Ned rig. So it will suspend more off the bottom, so if the fish are not directly on that bottom. Now what a lot of people like to do, they tie on a long leader. I like between 6 to 18 inches from my leader. So I don't know how well you can see that line, but that weight right here, your drop shot weight, will just be on the bottom. And then when that's on the bottom, your drop shot rig will just suspend right off that bottom. And your subtle rod movements and everything will cause the lure to flutter in their face. Like I said, it's just very subtle action that ticks the bass off and gets them to bite. And that's what I do like about the drop shot. It's like you still kind of work with the bottom, but your lure suspends in mid depth in their face if they're not directly on the bottom feeding. And so, like I said, these are the more prominent finesse fishing techniques when using spinning, tackling gear. I definitely enjoy. Now, a lot of misconceptions when finesse fishing is that people really think you're only going to catch, quarter pound bass, small bass, maybe a pound bass. In my past use, I have caught 3 pound bass, 2 pound bass. I haven't caught nothing over 3 yet on any of these techniques. The drop shot did deliver and give me a 3 pound bass. I caught a 2 pound bass on the shaky head. Still haven't caught a pound bass on the Ned, but I would love to get there, but The one thing about finesse fishing is just like anything else with fishing, you just have to get out there and use it. So, when you're starting out and you don't have the bait caster still, you ain't got there yet, you want to keep practicing your finesse fishing, this will help you really understand and how to do it. It's like, for me, I don't really like it too much because I feel like it's just slow, especially in the wintertime. Now, of course, spring and summer and fall, you can fish it a little bit faster, but it's still just that subtle action, that subtle movement that will just get the bass to bite.
Well, I really hope y'all enjoy that very simple spinning gear tutorial. And when the time comes, you're ready to get out there. I know it hasn't been the greatest weather in North Carolina, so I will probably be seeing y'all sometime in March. I'm getting out there, and I will be trying those techniques and hopefully showing y'all that it does catch fish and getting it done. So once again, thank y'all again for just viewing, watching, liking, and subscribing. If you want to see other tutorials or just me give you a breakdown on stuff, please leave a comment. Let me know what else you want to see, and I'll do my best to deliver that content. Once again, thank y'all for just tuning in, watching in. I do appreciate it.